What's the strongest submarine in the world? Is it the American Ohio-class submarine or maybe the newest Virginia-class submarine? What if I told you that the strongest submarine in the world could be destroyed in just 2 minutes? And it's not just destroyed, but also turned into a steel tomb in the depths of the sea, trapping 118 people inside. The story of the Kursk submarine is one of the most horrific maritime disasters in the 21st century. This is a story that will show you how even the greatest technological achievements can fail and how even the bravest sailors can be helpless against some disasters. Join me and we'll dive deep into this incredible story together. On the morning of August 12, 2000, the Russian nuclear submarine Kursk, the pride of the Russian Northern Fleet, was preparing for the largest naval maneuvers in Russia's history since the collapse of the Soviet Union. The submarine had undergone a major modernization, increasing its displacement to 48,000 tons. It was 154 meters long, armed with 20 torpedo tubes and was fortified with thick steel layers that could withstand the impacts of bombs and depth charges. Additionally, it was equipped with torpedo missiles capable of destroying aircraft carriers at a distance of up to 70 kilometers. In short, this was an underwater monster that could easily be the nightmare of any enemy fleet. But fate had other plans for him. On that fateful day, the crew of the submarine, consisting of 118 sailors, were excited about the upcoming maneuvers. Among them was Captain Second-Rank Gennady Lyubenko, who commanded the submarine with honor and dignity. He was a veteran sailor with extensive experience, highly respected by his crew and considered one of the best in the Northern Fleet. However, little did he know that he would become the main character in one of the greatest tragedies in the history of the submarine fleet. The submarine left its base at around 9 a.m., heading straight to the designated area for the maneuvers. As it sailed through the calm waters of the Barents Sea, everything seemed to be going according to plan. The submarine moved silently and steadily, remaining undetected by enemy forces. But soon, events would unfold that nobody could have imagined. At around 11:26 a.m., the first explosion occurred, ripping apart the very core of the submarine. Eyewitnesses on nearby ships reported seeing a huge water column rising high above the surface of the sea, followed by a loud roar. A few seconds later, another massive explosion rocked the water, equivalent to a magnitude 3 earthquake. The shock wave from the explosion was felt as far as 50 miles away, shattering windows in nearby houses and injuring several people. Suddenly, the Kursk, which moments before was sailing proudly through the seas, was nowhere to be seen. It had vanished into the depths of the ocean in just a matter of seconds. As the water column subsided and the echoes of the explosion faded away, the full realization of the disaster struck the crew of the nearby ships. The Kursk, one of Russia's most advanced and powerful submarines, had sunk. But the question remained, why? The first explosion completely destroyed the torpedo room, killing dozens instantly. Survivors took refuge in the aft compartment. Among them were Petty Officer Dmitry Kolesnikov, Captain's assistant, Warrant Officer Sergei Kuzmin, and Navigator, Lieutenant Commander Mikhail Fedotov. They managed to send a message to the command center reporting that there was flooding in compartments 7 and 8, but they still had hope of being saved. In the dim light of their compartment, lit only by emergency lights, they waited anxiously for help to arrive. But as hours turned into days, their hope began to dwindle. Food and water supplies started to run low and the air grew stale and heavy. Despite the dwindling supplies and the suffocating atmosphere, the men remained hopeful. They rationed their food and water, knowing that every drop and every bite counted. Then came the final blow. After 3 days, when their hopes were already at rock bottom, they received a message from the outside world. Their submarine was damaged beyond repair and their only chance of survival was to abandon ship and try to surface. But it was too late for that. Compartment 6, where the escape hatch was located, was completely flooded. This meant that if they wanted to leave the submarine, they would have to do it through compartments 7 and 8, which were also flooded. It was a trap. They were trapped in an iron tomb under the sea. After realizing the hopelessness of their situation, the men decided to write down their last thoughts and impressions. Some wrote letters to their loved ones, pouring out their hearts and expressing their final love and sorrow. Others wrote notes to their comrades, sharing their feelings and experiences during those dark days. There was even a diary kept by one of the sailors, recording the events as they unfolded, providing a first-hand account of the ordeal they faced. Among these writings, the most heartbreaking was the note written by Petty Officer Dmitry Kolesnikov. With a trembling hand, he wrote, "We're still alive. Most of us are in compartment 6. We can't get out. Time is limited." Imagine the despair and hopelessness expressed in these words. These were the last words written from inside the submarine, the last testament of a man who knew he was trapped in an iron tomb under the sea. But what exactly led to this tragic outcome? How did such a powerful and modern submarine suddenly sink without a trace? The official investigation into the disaster revealed that the cause of the explosion was a defective torpedo that went off accidentally. According to experts, a short circuit caused a fire in the torpedo, which eventually led to the explosion of the entire torpedo compartment. However, many believe that the real reason behind the disaster was the negligence and incompetence of the crew and the Russian Navy command. The crew had repeatedly expressed concern about the safety of the torpedoes, but their complaints were ignored. Moreover, the Russian Navy command delayed the rescue operation for several days, hoping to hide the disaster from the public. The failed rescue attempts only added to the tragedy, raising questions about the readiness and effectiveness of the Russian Navy. The Norwegians were the first to come to the rescue, offering their help. But the Russians refused, citing military secrets. However, when the extent of the disaster became known, they had no choice but to accept the help. When the Norwegian divers finally opened the emergency hatch of the submarine a week later, they found the aft compartment completely flooded. All the men were dead. Some died of suffocation after the first explosion, while others died of carbon monoxide poisoning after a small fire broke out in the compartment. After the tragedy, many survivors and relatives of the victims accused the Russian government of deliberately hiding information about the disaster, claiming that the Navy knew about the submarine's problems, but ignored them. However, despite the pain and grief, the families of the victims showed incredible resilience and courage. They fought for years to uncover the truth about the disaster and hold those responsible accountable. Their efforts led to the conviction of 9 Russian Navy officials for negligence and abuse of power. But for the families, this was just a small step towards justice. The Kursk disaster remains one of the most painful chapters in the history of the Russian Navy. It exposed the weaknesses and shortcomings of the Navy and the country's leadership. But it also demonstrated the courage, heroism, and selflessness of the sailors who gave their lives defending their country. The memory of the Kursk and its crew continues to live on in the hearts of the Russian people. The tragedy serves as a reminder of the price of human lives and the importance of accountability and responsibility. And what do you think about this story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends. Also, don't forget to subscribe to stay updated with our latest videos. Thanks for watching and see you next time.